Welcome back, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, my co-hostess Victoria Munday. And down in the chat room, Quarantine Ghost, haunting the chat. We have fantastic guests with us tonight. Jim Penniston from the Rendlesham Forest Incident has returned. We had a fantastic show with him earlier this year. Really got kind of into everything that happened that particular evening that he witnessed this, whatever it was out there. We're going to get a little bit more into that. But we're going to get more into that question there, what exactly this thing may have been. Jim, fantastic to have you back, and welcome.
Yeah, it's nice to be here, Rick. Or Mike. Sorry.
It's the last name. I get it. Ricksecker. I've been called Rick my entire life.
No, I really didn't mean that. That's not a joke.
It's okay. It's okay. So I have your book here, the Rendlesham Enigma, which I do have a link down in the description of the chat room here on the YouTube channel. Rendlesham Enigma. It's a big book, very, very detailed. And we talked a lot about that last time, and I hadn't gotten through it all because shipping was slow at the time. Just got the book like a week beforehand. And it's a big book, Jim. There's a lot of detail in it. So,
I didn't want to leave nothing out. No, I wanted to be definitive. So that's what happened. I tell you what, originally it was going to be 1,000 pages.
Oh wow!
Wow!
I know.
That it's already almost 700 pages.
Yeah, and of that, the 300 pages of chapter endnotes.
Mm-hmm.
If you see how small the print is on the endnotes, it's because we had to do that. I mean, keep it down to around 700 pages.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is only book one, the timeline. So there's more to come after this, which is going to be absolutely amazing. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Now, last time we covered a lot about what happened that first night that you were out there. I don't want to rehash all of that. But I do kind of want to start with, because getting deeper and deeper into the book, it was very, very apparent that there was a lot of misinformation, disinformation going around as well. A lot of stories, people who weren't even there coming up with their own tales about what happened. And it seems like this confused the community for a number of years, decades. And it seems to me your book really clears up a lot of that with all the information that's in there.
Right, that was the original intent, of the Air Force, is to go ahead and put out, containment story, and it worked, as you can see with all this disinformation that came out. Some things fell into place. I mean, Monroe Nevels from Disaster Preparedness went out the morning after and checked, by base commander's orders, to check out the site and to investigate. He did. Spent all day out there. Then went back in to Woodbridge that night, met with Colonel Conrad again, went back out there with Colonel Hall, and continued it. But the whole thing is they wanted the first night to go away. So it was a golden opportunity with the third night with, Lights in the Skies, being reported. And so it worked out really well. The other thing is we even had books that were written on the containment story, which I found fascinating over the years.
Yeah, but they were actually pawned off as if it was the true story and as if there was only one night and that happened to be the third night. That's
right. And, and the other thing is, I did a lot of documentaries, but let's face it, they have one mission in mind, and it's not the truth. They want to sell the documentary to, the production company does, right, and all that stuff. I don't fault them for it, but what happens is the best part of a testimony, is on the cutting room floor. So that's what usually happened at all those documentaries, and stuff I thought was great. I'm finally said it, it's going to go out, and they go off in some mundane stuff that doesn't really make any difference to me.
Right.
So that's just not all the documentaries. There's a couple that were okay, not bad. 80% true, 75% true. That's pretty good, actually.
compared to some of them. But
Yeah, some of them were just terrible. Yeah, you know what? The first one I did Colonel Halt. He had been retired a year or two from the service, and I was retired a year. He calls me up and he wants to put out we have one of these people who's doing the disinformation on the forest incident. And he says, hey, got a chance to do a documentary in England. And he says, we can set it straight. And I don't know about that. Besides, I have to go to England. And nothing against England, anybody's out there living. I mean, just a long trip. And I thought at that time I had a full-time job and working, And anyway, we went, and I found I had enlightenment about documentaries. I mean, there I had my notebook. They didn't care about it. The storyboards were already written. That's what the producer told me. Okay, all right. Then the other thing, they're saying, well, how big was it? And I said, well, it's about 9 feet by 9 feet. And I says, about 6.5 feet tall. He says, you can't say that on TV. Okay, why not? He says, well, they got to be able to relate to it. Okay, and he goes, it's the size of a tank. I'll tell you right now, I've never seen a tank in my life, okay? And so, okay, so I found myself during that first documentary, changing to adapt to that documentary. And I went, you know what? I'm not going to do that no more. And I did. I just stopped. So what they stopped doing is, I guess they just cut out the parts they didn't like, and that's where some of the disinformation came from.
That's creative editing. That's all.
That's what they call it.
No comment. Have you seen the sculpture that they've made that's out there now?
Yes, I got a.
Oh yeah, I do have a photo of that.
Is that what it really looked like?
Well, it's not bad.
It was that size. I mean, because that looks.
It's about that size. The size is about right. I tell you what, I got the Forestry Service got a hold of me. I can't remember when it was. It's quite a long time ago. And they says, can you give us a hand on this? And so I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll provide you some sketches, and I says, and I can also give you the symbols and that were on the side of it and where they were at. So I did, and they said, well, we can do it. We'll get the size about right. He says, but the sheet metal guy can't make it, ergodynamic like it was.
If they only could.
Okay. I said, yeah, okay. But they did get the symbols, and they did put them on it. So it's not bad. I mean, I think the worst thing the Forestry Service did is they created the UFO trail, which is not the trail.
I saw that today. There's like hiking trails now. There's a 4 mile and a 10 mile, and you can go on these hikes.
Yeah, they did it out of convenience because they already had trails there. And, yeah, I don't care. It's the event did happen in Rendlesham Forest, so it's close enough.
Why not?
That's been my problem, I think, over the years. Like stuff like that don't make any difference to me. So I go, yeah, that's close enough. It's just like the first time they asked me about, how many pages of binary were there in the notebook? Because I don't know, 15, 20, 30, I don't know. I didn't care.
Right.
It's not important to me. But it turns out it's important to everybody else. And later I realized that I had to go ahead and count them. Yeah,
those pages.
No, we were doing a film shoot, I think back in 12 or 13 in Rockford, Illinois. And we had Burroughs there, a couple other people. And he says, we have to sit there and count those right now. He says, know exactly how many there's in there. I said, why? He says, because people want to know. I says, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 16. So. I guess it was
that's still a lot of pages of binary.
It's a small notebook.
Yeah.
I mean, it was only,
I read something earlier today that said that once you wrote it all out, you felt so much better and you were able to sleep. I guess you got it out of your system. Do you remember it? Could you say, well, page 12 was, and rattle it off, or
no,
once
I
you
can't
wrote it
do
down?
that. No, I can't do that by page.
Well, okay, but do you still remember it, or is it?
Right now I can see them. Yeah. I had someone ask me, I think I could write them down.
Yeah.
And he says, well, why don't you try writing them down? I go, okay. So I tried, and I still have a lot of trauma from it. So I stopped. There's certain things I can do. I'm doing a lot better. Like I'm doing podcasts and I'm doing documentaries. And I wrote a book. I tell you, the writing the book was like therapy. Okay, that helped a
Oh,
lot.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the remarks?
The answer, Victoria, is no. I don't think so. But if I attempted, I could. I think.
You know, when I was little, my mom used to take one piece of the puzzle when we would put a puzzle together and keep it so she could put the last piece in there. I think about doing that, just taking one page out and say, wow, I don't know what it means. Okay, no.
No, but that's a nice story.
Next time, you know.
So something I wanted to ask you, Jim, it's going back in the book. Now I'm going to paraphrase a little bit here because I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but you had said something in there about that as a society we have a propensity to either withhold information or serve out disinformation that actually impedes our own progress or evolution as a society. Why is it you think we do that?
I don't know. It might be something that's that's embedded in us, in our cerebral cortex. I don't know. We seem to be that's our nature. I think it's part of it's you want to protect yourself too. You'll go so far, but you're not going to go so far to expose yourself to getting violently hurt or something like that.
Right. But in this case, with what you experienced and what happened out there in the forest, what do you think they might be trying to protect us from?
Them?
Them.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I don't think it's got anything to do with us. I think it's got to do with something with them in the future. So, I don't think it has anything. Well, does that have something to do with us? I guess technically that would, if you use that premise. Some of the impressions or communications that were exposed in the hypnosis session by my doctor in '94 after I was out went into all that kind of stuff that it's like they were trying to change events in the future. And I don't know how that could ever happen by coming to Rendlesham Forest that night. I mean, I'm not sure how that could do anything in the future.
Right.
Well, unless it's the binary, I don't know.
Yeah, if I recall in your hypnosis, there was something in there about the chromosomes, and they were coming back and trying to get some chromosomes. And it'd be unclear as to what exactly they would need them for, but it sounded like that there was some sort of trouble with the future culture. Yeah.
Or something. I hate to say that because it sounds grim.
Right.
The Hopi said, we're the ones. What was it? We're the ones we're looking for, or we're the ones we're waiting for, or we're waiting for us, or something like that. Like something is going to happen, and we have to come back and save ourselves.
Or create a new timeline.
Yes, or repair what damage we've done in the past to make it better.
Yeah, that's that. We have some theories on that. I mean, to sit there and give concrete information, this is a fact, I can't do that.
Right.
Not yet.
Right. So
well, I wish I could.
So a lot of
maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, a lot of the disinformation, and it's still pretty prevalent out there because they call this the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. And, a lot of people still go down the route of extraterrestrials, but this seems to be a time device, some sort of time machine, at least. And it seems like that's what I'm getting a lot from your book.
Some kind of multi-dimensional device. Hollywood calls it time travel. That is an interdimensional travel. That's the impressions, the communication that I had from my 45 minutes with the craft. So it's not like I was trying to keep a secret or anything about it, because why have any communication at all, So, but that's the communication I had from it. And so some type of dimensional travel. Because we don't, one of our theories is that corporeal life, human beings can't survive the interdimensional travel, so they send drones back. Or another theory we have, they send back, some type of cyborg thing like that that's not human, but mechanical, that, and you can call them whatever you want, maybe race or whatever. And one of the interesting things, though, about Rendlesham is even from the time of being debriefed and everything, I never used the term UFO. I've never voluntarily ever used it. I think I had a documentary that forced me into it. But no, it's not a UFO. UFO is an unidentified flying object. This craft had landed, was on the ground 45 minutes, and it took off. I mean, that's not a UFO. That is a craft of unknown origin.
Yeah, it came and delivered a message and left, basically.
Yes.
So, can I ask you about the 45 minutes you said? Did you lose 45 minutes of time? Or your watch was 45 minutes off? Was that because you were in the sphere of influence?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you read the book. Yeah?
Well, parts.
Okay. No, the 45 minutes, I had an electric watch at the time. Mm-hmm. And so I was, even for the time, even when I came back to Central Security Control and I see the watch was off 45 minutes from the control center clocks, I just figured it stopped, because of the electrical, static electricity, things like that. And then this phenomenon that was going inside the sphere of influence was
right.
Caused it to stop. So I have deducted that it's 45 minutes is how long I've been there. But I'll tell you what, for me in real time, it was just a matter of minutes. I mean, 5-10 minutes maybe.
Okay,
it wasn't very long.
That's the first part of my question. Okay, we had a guest on a few weeks ago who completed some equations Einstein started. And he was talking about, and I forgot what it's called, the field theory, I think it's what it was called. Anyway,
Unified field theory.
That's it. And he was saying that the further you get away from the center of gravity, time stops. Do you think perhaps the craft that came back had to somehow repel gravity to get back in time? And that would cause your watch to stop?
Either that or it was the electrical field. I don't know. Some of the research, here's some of the facts. When there was also the absence of sound around the craft.
Okay, because I was going to ask about that too.
And then when the craft did take off, and it seemed like it just disappeared. It was gone. Mm-hmm. But I later realized that when I seen it, over the Cape of Green area, it just was going off slow, like 300-400 miles an hour. So I think what we had over Rendlesham is that it was just leaving at a speed of a bullet or something like that, right. Which would appear to be a blinking of an eye. But you would, any craft that size, you would have a sonic boom from them.
Okay.
And,
was there any, I'm sorry.
And there wasn't.
No displacement of air?
Nothing. No displacement of air. Yeah.
Kind of ghostly. It just went up and left, maybe?
Well, no, not really. It went up to the tree canopy and it
then took off. Yeah.
Stayed there momentarily, took a little bit of a right turn, and then gone. Okay. So, no, there's no ghostly. This is solid object.
Like quietly, stealthily.
It was quiet because there's no noise. Even there was no intakes, there was no exhaust. Whatever type of propulsion or it was using, it could very well have been something like you just said with gravity. I don't know.
Because another thing I was wondering about, if I may, you said it was sitting on beams of light. Could that have been some sort of like a energy field? When you put magnets together and you kind of repulse, or makes that gravitational field that you can't get any closer? Because it made imprints in the ground, right?
Yeah, it could have. I don't know. I don't know what the technology. I know it wasn't light. I mean,
Right,
it appears
okay.
to be light, but there's some type of technology that
Right.
can actually hold an object up and eventually lift it up, to treetop level.
Okay.
Going back to, I'll tell you what. There's lots of questions you can ask about the incident itself. I can't tell you a lot for certain, okay, but I can tell you everything it wasn't. I can do that for sure.
Okay.
Okay, I can do that for sure. So if I can sit there. We've used theoretical ideas and stuff like that of what would make sense. One of the things you're talking about was one of them we talked about.
Okay.
But do I know it for sure? No.
Who knows? Okay, I have one last question, then I'll be quiet.
Oh, you're fine,
Yes.
Victoria. Go ahead, ask your questions.
Fine.
In a few weeks, it's going to be 40 years. What are you going to do? You going to celebrate?
No, I'm going to try to get through it.
Okay.
Every time I tell you, I'll share this.
Okay.
The PTSD part is cyclic. It's terrible around Christmas time. That means I don't have no sleep. I'm lucky to get 1 or 2 hours of sleep a night. It's usually pretty traumatic
Okay.
for me.
I'm sorry.
Not a good. No, it's okay. It's just that's me. I mean,
Yeah.
just not a good experience for me. But I'll get through it. 40 years seems like yesterday. Well, actually, it seems like the other night. That's when I dreamed about it.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. So it doesn't seem that long ago to me. Not when you're reliving it all the time. you
Right.
know. But believe me, I understand the excitement of the 40th anniversary. I've been asked, a lot of people, a lot of production companies, TV shows, whatever, to do something for the 40th anniversary, and I just said no. I'm
Wow.
not going to do it.
Okay.
Good for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to do nothing like that. They were going to have before the Chinese virus, they were going to go have us have something around December over in the UK where we'd all get together. And I said, leave me out of it. I don't want nothing to do with it. So it's not that, it's just not for me.
Yeah, we've been through a lot with this. A lot of people are sensationalizing it, of course, and there are newer people these days, a younger crowd that's coming across this story, and it's new to them. So to them, it's very sensational. But you went through a lot of trauma with this, and I don't think people quite understand that.
Yeah, it started almost immediately. I mean, with the buying her download at home, and then it wasn't too bad in the servers, I guess, because I was, busy.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't talk about it. It was, top secret. Then I retired 13 years after the incident, and I really think one of the triggers where I started having bad dreams and stuff like that was actually going over to England doing that first documentary. I think that was it. I think that was a mistake. Later, I find out that with PTSD, you need to confront the triggers and all that stuff. I've done that recently in the last 5 years, so it makes it easier. I'm on medication at night. I don't know, it's an alpha blocker or something like that, and it just sort of shuts off you from dreaming. You still dream, but I'll tell you what, at least you're not waking up in sweats or stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to feel sorry for them.
No.
It's just a situation that happened. I don't want to. The writings of the books help. There are certain things that I would avoid in podcasts, and that when talking, I just go ahead and float over them.
Sure.
So I think that adds to some of the disinformation. It could be looked at it that way when I don't want to talk about something. As years went by, I got more comfortable talking about it. If that's I don't know if that's a good word to use, comfortable. Anyway, I got more used to it.
Right.
And, the writing of the first book, that helped. And then, of course, this one here was pure therapy for me, writing everything down. I did use a little bit of the hypnosis session from my doctor on conversation in that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the conversation in that book, like what I was thinking about girls or things like that, that is directly from my hypnosis. And, when I heard that, I went, oh, yeah, I said that. Yeah. Sometimes the truth is harsh and sometimes it's unsettling. And, I don't have anything against anybody.
Right.
It's just that's the truth. And I think that's what I wanted with this book. At least I told my co-author this. I said the thing I wanted is to be able to present every fact there is about it, everything I know about it, stuff I have kept close to the vest, things I never talked about. And I said I want to make it definitive so people can go ahead and look at the facts and then make up their own mind, whatever it is at the end of the book. That's what I wanted to do. And I'm not trying to sell them on an idea, trying to suggest ideas. I'm telling you what happened and what my thoughts were. So,
and I think that is something that's really fantastic about this book is that, one of the reasons it is so, massive and extensive is, you break down, you and your co-author, here's what this person said, and here's what they said at this point in time, and here's what they said again at this point in time, and all these stories that have little details that are different here and there, and you make of it what you will. You don't actually force your own opinion on that. You're just stating this is what they said multiple times, and they didn't all quite line up. And here's what I experienced. Comparing to what others had said, and make up your own mind.
Yeah, I think, Mike, if you and I had, we were in a place and we observed a crime, a robbery, I think we'd come up with 90% of the same retelling of what happened as eyewitnesses. Okay, there's that other 10%. Just I don't know. This is the way human beings are. Okay, if there's four of us, we get that one little 10% difference with all of us. But it's just like with Monroe Neville's, whose story has never changed. I looked at a documentary from 30 years ago when I was writing the book. Monroe Neville's wrote his own chapter, and in there it matches up with 90% of what Colonel Halt did. But like Colonel Halt didn't know that Colonel Conrad that morning after we came in ordered Monroe Neville's out there to investigate it.
Right.
Can you blame the base commander? He wants to know, is there anything to this? What's going on? Is there any residual evidence? That's the kind of stuff he was tasked with. And fortunately, Monroe being a Marine, he was in prior service as a Marine. He is a detailed guy. And, so he took detailed observations of what was going on. And it varied about, 90% was the same as what, Colonel Halt was talking about. But actually out there, beside each other, that stayed about 95%, the same. It's just the telling's a little different.
Right, right. So we do have some questions coming in from the chat room. I do want to get to some of these here, but also for our podcast listeners later on this week, when this plays on kgraradio.com, we do want to thank those that are listening to kgraradio.com. From Judy Wilson, she was wondering if it affected your body being in that sphere of influence for about 45 minutes.
I noticed the effects as I entered it, the labored movements and that, the static electricity and face, skin, hair, the void of sound, but all of them except for the sound dissipated. Okay, as I examined the craft. So that was the only physical influence I had at that time with being in there. Outside of when it took off, relief, I was pretty relieved.
Mm-hmm.
I was glad to see it go.
Yeah, I bet.
I hope, I don't know. Did I answer?
I think that answered it just fine. Another question here out of the chat. Fungi. I know you answered this the last time we had you on, but what the craft felt like. I think you said it just felt like metal.
Yeah, it was metal, but I used the term it looked like black glass. That's to describe the visual of it. But it felt like metal of some sort. It wasn't aircraft skin like I, was used to, being in the Air Force and that. It was no rivets. It was no seams. All that was perfectly smooth except for the area where the symbols were at. And then that felt more like sandpaper, like it was etched in there.
Yeah, you said they were raised a bit.
Yeah, it was a little bit etching.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Did they repeat it all, or was it just one set of symbols?
No, you had 5 of them. Yeah, there's 5 of them, and they were about 3 feet wide. And there's the 6th one was a triangular one that was on. It's on the cover of the book.
All right, it's on the cover. I'll bring that up here real quick. So these are the symbols here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, and if the cover of the book, if you would take it and just stretch out the bottom a little bit more, you can see exactly how it looked. And that's the part that was felt like coarse, like sandpaper, like they were etched in there.
Now, on this model that they've put out there, are those symbols, were they placed in the right spot there, or is this just the artist's interpretation?
Well, I sent them in the right order. I don't know. I can't really see it. Can you tell me if they match the cover? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I can't tell from this photo. I don't know if you've seen a closer photo or anything like that. So.
No. I sent the stuff and they said they were going to make it, and then I think about 8 years later, I think I asked somebody that read one of our books sent me a picture. That's the only way I've seen it.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And then we have another one here from Andrea. She was wondering if it looked like any military craft that we have these days.
No. The technology can't be replicated yet. One of the things that I was fortunate to have the experience prior to that incident is I was stationed at Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska, SAC headquarters at the time, and I was part of the elite guard, which was bodyguards for the general officers and other people, important people. And we also guarded the command post, which is 5 stories down on the ground. But we also had the opportunity to provide security for our R&D, research and development, briefings and that for the general staff and things like that. And there was never anything with the technology that this had in any of those briefings. And they were projected 50 years ahead of time. Mm-hmm. And no. And there still is nothing. There's still nothing like it. I mean, engines have to have intakes. They got to have exhaust. They got to have flaps. They got to have, they got to have some type of landing gear. They don't work on light. And, they got to make noise. And they got to have the air displacement. And so it's void of all those. And all our aircraft and drones today have that.
Right. Yeah, our drones are quite loud, actually.
Yeah, these are not the little ones you buy at at a Walmart.
Mm-hmm. And even those that you buy at Walmart sound like a nest of bees. So
right, yeah, these drones look like planes, small planes. I mean, they're very loud in that. Yeah. It's just the technology can't be replicated today. Uh, I think, well, it'd be pretty scary if they had the technology to have aircraft that could go from 0 to, say, 4,000 miles an hour without air displacement. That would be a highly militarized find.
Yeah,
to have that. I mean,
absolutely. Well, do you think this was more like anti-gravity?
You know, that's our consensus on some of the theories that we have, is that it's the only thing it can be. One of the physicists that agrees with us is Dr. Jack Safari. He's based out of Stanford at one time. I think he's retired now, San Francisco area. And he believes that, as a matter of fact, he'll go through all the equations of it. I've got so much sense to me. I can't do algebra. And this guy just sends all this formula stuff. This is why, this supports what you're saying. Mm-hmm. So he understands it. I just don't understand it. Yeah, people send me stuff like that, the in support of stuff, and mm-hmm. I'm not a mechanical engineer or anything like that. I mean, my background is criminal justice.
Right, in security, sure.
Yeah.
So, well, this is book 1, Timeline. What do we expect for book 2 from you?
It's all on Gary. Gary's going to take his. It is. I designed the first book as book 1. Just to let you know, book 1, Rendlesham mm-hmm. Enigma, is definitive book on the Rendlesham Forest Incident. Now, Gary's going to go ahead and write about his discoveries, his theories, and his research on what the binary code means and what it's for. It's a lengthy process. I'm sure it's going to take him a while to do that. He's been writing it for quite a while now.
Okay. Any theories that have been postulated that you can reveal to us here?
Well, it reinforces even to a harder degree the interdimensional travel, mm-hmm. time travel. It does. There's no question that I don't think there's any question that it's it's us from the future. I just can't prove it yet.
Right.
And hopefully Gary will have that research done where he can be able to do that. Right now he's got by taking the coordinates from around the world that were on the binary code. Yeah, there's stuff that's right. Down to 1 inch on global scale, and he believes one of his theories is that he believes that they actually point out to a hidden chamber in Giza, and he had one of his thoughts on that is that he thinks it will have information contained in that chamber.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't want to steal his
No, that's
research.
Fine. But that's really interesting because
a
they
lot
have
of the stuff we're talking about on this mic is personal Skypes back and mm-hmm. forth, and I'm not sure what he's put in the book. I think that's going to be some of it.
Okay.
Matter of fact, it's important because the math won't. I tell you what, the stuff he sent me so far, the math doesn't lie. I mean, it's math. I mean,
right.
So, yeah, I mean, it just doesn't lie. It doesn't have feelings, or it doesn't have, someone projecting a thought with it. I mean, it's math.
Yeah, you crunch the numbers, and this is what you get.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I think my statistics class hated me, so I don't know. I can't agree with that.
So your mind's geared for all that. Mine is not, as you can tell.
No, I'm out of that class. But is Gary the one that found the code within the code?
Yes, he had. It was Gary.
Okay.
Yeah, I tell you what, it was pretty interesting how that stuff happened, because we're just getting finished on writing, the Rendlesham Enigma, mm-hmm. and stuff he would, over the last couple of years, he'd send me something, or we actually spent about 20 to 30 hours a week on Skype writing the book, by the way.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's the new way.
Yeah. And when you'd send me a piece of information about that, I would have a wow factor every time you did that. And I said, my God, what are the chances of that happening? Wow, you know. But somewhere around 50, 60, 70 times of stuff's being sent, and I was going, wow. I says, you know, Gary, this seems like it might be by design. And he says, exactly. He says, that's my thoughts too.
So it's all connected.
It's all connected.
Did you hear that, Mike?
Yeah, I heard that. That sounds like connected universe to me. Yep.
Yeah.
So JD Bambera has a question down here out of the chat room. Have you seen anything like this in film or TV?
Ooh. There's parts of what happened at Rendlesham in some movies. Interstellar, for example.
Yeah.
The binary. I think that might be time travel too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there was.
There might be in there too.
Interdimensional.
The interdimensional stuff is there. Yeah,
that kind of stuff. I know the Ancient Aliens. We did a few shows with them.
Sure. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Kim Sharon, she's the producer at Prometheus Pictures. I met with her last summer in July. Gave her a book, and I says, "Here, you got future shows to work on." And she agreed. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, parts of them have been in already, even in Ancient Aliens, even ones we weren't participating in. So yeah, they're just. It's really odd to see that on a show when you're watching. You go, oh, they must have seen that and must have read a book. They must have read the book about it or something. You know what I mean? I don't know how writers are in Hollywood to get that creative. Anyway, I guess they have to look at everything to do that. So, So the answer is yes. I've seen some of that in productions. Have I seen the exact craft?
No, they haven't replicated that. But
no,
let me ask you.
They will. I'm sure they will.
Oh, I'm sure at some point. But let me ask you this: have you seen other? Because a lot of these reports and different phenomena seem to be very related. Have you seen other reports from around the world, maybe before yours or after yours, that seem to be related or similar to what happened to you?
Okay. Yes. One of the things about writing books and that, and your name's somewhat known, so they find you on the internet and that. And every once in a while, I get a case like that stuff I hadn't publicly put out before, and they have parted with their sighting. That was directly corresponds to what I observed with Rendlesham, and that's always the tip of the iceberg with it. When I get that stuff in, when I start asking more questions, it gets more, where we're both, me and the other person, saying, "Okay, I don't know what it is." And they seem shocked that I don't know what it is. So I said, "I don't know what it is, but I know one thing: it's unexplained."
Yeah.
Okay, we know that for sure. There's, then some things are really obvious to happen because people send me all kinds of pictures.
Sure, I bet.
And most of them are all very easily explained as natural phenomena or human phenomena, airplanes. The most recent one, I must have got 50 videos on it of the blimp in New Jersey. Matter of fact, this guy in Holland sends it to me. I go, "Oh, that's a blimp." And he says, "That's instantaneous." He says, "You look at it?" I said, "That's all it took." He says, "The first few seconds, you can see it's a blimp." And he says, "Yeah, but everybody's stopping." I said, "Well, they don't know what they're looking at." They or else just have wishful thinkers that want to see something.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. but there are people out there that have reported cases to me. We have one in South America that stands out in Peru. The guy's a pilot. I've known him personally now for about 15 years. Story fascinating me. The other one that is unexplainable and has great nose cam footage that hasn't been released yet is General Jafari of the Iranian Air Force. I think that's a pretty big incident. And,
Interesting.
Also, yeah, that's one I can't explain. The one with General de Bauer, the Belgian wave, he can't explain it. I can't explain it. Yeah, I mean, we have things like that. But 99% of them, you know, that you can say, well, this is what it is, or this is what I think it is. I have a friend that works at JPL. I don't want to go too much into that. She's worked there for years. And I have another friend that works at the Lucas Labs for like George Lucas, Star Wars.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So if I find something I really don't know, I send it to those guys. And, you know, if I sort of think it's going to be fake, which most of them are, and all of them have been so far, by the way, except one, Lucas will say, oh, no, that's CGI. You know, they explain. They said, no, that's obvious. But the one that they said wasn't CGI, he says it looks actual. That's the one I sent to my friend at JPL. She had it for 6 months. And it's a sighting in northern Wisconsin, and by somebody else that took video on that. And she calls me back. She says, you know, we can't explain it. We don't know what it is. She says, but here's the interesting thing, Jim. Here, I'm going to send you photographs of the same object in Italy, Russia, and South America.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
She said, I went, yeah, she sends that back. So I get a hold of this person that's giving me an original film to look at. And I said, yeah, what you got there is a bona fide real UFO. Good luck. I said, we can't explain it. So she said, I don't know what you're going to do with that, but there you are, you know. So we do get those every once in a while.
Do you think there's more activity right now, or we're just looking for it more and we can document it more?
The reason there's more activity is because we have, for example, let's just talk Creech Air Force Base, Arizona. That sits northwest of Phoenix. Every month, they fly 30,000 drone missions out of there every month.
Yeah.
They also train our allies from the British and that there on drones and how to fly them. The Marshal Service, the ICE, all of them have drones flown out of there. So just that one area, you're probably talking 30 to 40,000 drone missions a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
I lived in Scottsdale, and you could tell when they were coming. It was just like, oh my God, did you see that? They were just everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, they, you know, they don't, not all of them have blinking lights. I mean,
No.
no.
Some are very quiet too.
Some are very quiet. But to the untrained observer, it's a UFO. You don't know what it is. I mean,
Yeah, I've seen those. They
yeah.
were shaped like chevrons, just going over the, you know, the 101, and nobody else was looking but me. But they were quiet.
Yeah.
They were just going.
Yeah, there you are. I mean, and those are hard to explain, especially if they're at night or something like that, you know.
So does that explain the Phoenix Lights?
Ooh.
I tell you what, I've met
Linda Newton Howell has a good theory.
no, not with her.
Oh no, I met her.
Oh.
I met her right after that.
No, Linda, the other, the lady that wrote the book, Keitel, I think her name is. She wrote books on it, Phoenix Lights. I met her several times now.
Okay.
Read her books. Seems I Know What I Saw had the documentary, had the stuff on the Phoenix Light. There's a lot of witnesses, and I'm just not going to discount all those witnesses. And they're from different vantage points, which that's almost that'd be impossible.
That's a little tougher. Yeah.
You know what the cool connection is there? I don't know if they were over the Australia mountains. That means stars. Australia.
I don't know. I'm just going by what I.
No, that's yeah, that's what they always called it, the Star Mountain. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, this author of the Phoenix Lights, I wish I could remember her name. Keitel, I think is her last name. And you know, she's a doctor, a medical doctor, and this is what she retired, and she does this for a living. And she's done some pretty nice work and good research. And she's not a UFO opportunist or entertainer, okay? She's actually a researcher.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
So, question here from Robert Hanna, and I'll kind of rephrase this a little bit. Because you're saying that it wasn't actually operated or piloted by somebody, but how do you think it was actually piloted to where you saw it?
Well, it was intelligent control because it maneuvered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't know. I know all I know is that there was nothing else around. I mean, it had to be done remotely. Either that or it was programmed. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. No, fair enough. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I've had all these thoughts about that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, is this already programmed? It's running.
yeah, I think that's one of the big
Is that what it's
questions,
doing?
right?
So, yeah, I mean, I said, or is it, you know, someone sitting up, you know, at, you know, at 50,000 feet or 100,000 feet, and they're remotely, you know, working. I don't see how they could do that, by the way. There's trees there, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think it was probably more internal. That would be my guess of it. Yeah, I don't really know the answer though.
Can I ask you a question about the binary code? You said when you received it, you said after it was over, your night vision was back. So it's not like it was a bright light or anything. Do you think that was like your inner eye, your third eye, or you intuitively knew what the binary code was?
Or a mind's eye, yeah. I mean,
It wasn't the physical.
No, the technology wasn't light. That's obvious, or else there
Right.
wouldn't have been no night vision. So, in retrospect, I have been referring to that as the communication. So, and
I like that.
whatever kind of technology it was, it communicated.
Okay.
And but it didn't do it by pen or paper.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't
No.
do it by radio.
Yeah. No 16 pages. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's,
Yeah, I totally get that.
okay. Got any more questions from your list, Victoria?
I do, but I don't know if you want me to ask them all.
No, go ahead, Victoria. We have a few minutes left, so you may as well.
Oh, geez. Yeah, you didn't get to them last time. Let's see. I have them over
That's
here.
why I'm wondering if you had if you had questions from last
Yeah,
time.
Mike just rolls his eyes and goes, "Oh God, not her."
No,
again."
keep going, keep going. Yeah, last time Victoria was a guest in the chat room, but
Yes.
now she's here as my
After
co-host.
this.
So yeah,
Got promoted.
she got promoted. Yeah.
In the right place at the right time. I don't know. Okay. Asked all those. Oh, do you still have the tapes, or do the tapes still exist of the emergency calls, or were they confiscated because they were on reel to reel, right, back in those days?
Back in those days, I don't want to get too into dinosaur stuff like
I'm not either.
TAC reel-to-reel tapes.
Okay, I know
They
those
were
machines.
Those were picked up from the command post.
Do they still
Yeah.
exist?
I'm sure they do. They were picked up by the commander-in-chief of U.S. Air Forces Europe. A four-star general came in and picked those up. So
Or did
I
they get
would. Well,
put
if you got a four-star general, they went to the Pentagon. And I tell you what, the reason I'm pretty sure they went to the Pentagon is because, and I described this in the book too. Colonel Highbush, who was my lifeline, he came in and took over as the squadron commander as a colonel versus a major, Zickler,
Right.
that was there. And he had read my 4-page handwritten statement that I did down at the OSI building. And so if he had that and had access to read that, he heard the tapes. I'm pretty sure of that.
Okay, so
Well-
they're not like put away in a vault somewhere and say, oh, these never existed.
No, I'm sure they're still classified.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting to me about Colonel Highbush when it seems like
I'm glad we're talking about him because he is was a fantastic person. I mean, he was.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for his passing because it sounded like he was an amazing person, and really, like you said, you called him your
He
lifeline.
helped me a lot.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it seemed like he may have known or heard about incidents like these even prior to reading your 4-page letter as to what happened. Does that seem to be the case that these incidents have been reported before?
That's my impression too. I got from Colonel Highbush, and I continued throughout the years. Some of the things he told me, I tried to find, verify. Like he said, he worked security police intelligence at Pentagon. That was his prior assignment to come in there. No, there was no such organization. I mean, not publicly.
Right.
So I couldn't find anything on that.
Yeah, I never worked there, but yeah.
Yeah, he had an in-depth understanding, and maybe that's why he was chosen to become the squadron commander. There. He came out there, and I had some pretty interesting times throughout my times in Europe afterwards. I mean, 5-6 years after even, and he was there for me on that. And I think he had if you're going to go ahead and choose someone to be your liaison in the Air Force, I'm sure they picked someone that was aware of more things than just the Rendlesham incident, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly seems like it.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Victoria.
When is your audiobook coming out, please?
Well, I tell you what, I don't know if it's financially we're able to. The estimates are unreal for an audiobook.
Your book is 3 pounds. I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
it's a big book. Yeah.
I think what I'm trying to do, it's hard during this, with the virus and all this stuff, but we're trying to go ahead and put it in a second language.
Oh, okay.
We're going to pick. We're leaning towards Spanish, okay, because of the South America, Spain. A lot of people speak Spanish. I don't want the people in Italy to get disappointed because I've been asked by, I think, half the people in Italy to have it in Italian. But it makes it a little bit harder to put it in audio. One of the possibilities that was presented to me, but I discounted it, is just to do the chapters and not the end notes in audio. And that I think you need to have.
You have to have one with the other.
Right.
It just doesn't work.
No, I was only joking, but.
Yeah, it's not going to come out in audio.
Cliff notes. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to reading it if I ever have time off.
What's interesting is that some of the readers that have read the book and are on their 6th or 7th reading. One's on their 7th reading.
Oh, wow.
And they told me, I'm still finding new things in it I missed. And okay, I said, I can't believe that you could sit down and read that 7 times. It's hard enough writing the book. There's a person that's probably been, out of contact with civilization for like months. Well, I don't know. But
yeah, it is jam-packed with a lot of information. So highly recommend it.
Yeah, the book's not about any individual. As you can see, there's no pictures of me and Gary on there or nothing like that. We don't want to. That would just detract from the book to have us on there. It's about the incidents, it's about the binary, and it's about the uniqueness of what happened out there, and the ramifications, what seems to be coming in book 2. And that's not a teaser. It's just that I'm stating the facts on that.
Is there an estimated date as to when book 2 will be up?
Well, Gary's really touchy about that because he's thorough. I mean,
Oh yeah.
we took 5 years. I mean, I wrote a chapter a month and then went back and didn't like the words I used and changed it, and it took 5 years. If Gary had his way on it, he probably would have been another year or two in that book. So, but he's thorough, what can you say?
That's good. No.
Yeah, he wants it to be right. He wants it to be, he wants to be able to defend it. I mean, the information is in it. I understand that. And I would think that he is doing the same stuff that he did with the end notes in Rendlesham Enigma. He's going to, because that took a lot of time, by the way, and he put a lot of time into it.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. And you can tell. I mean, it is just chock full of information. Like you said, thorough is the perfect word for it.
Yeah, the last thing I'd want to do and listen to a bunch of interviews for all the witnesses involved and listen to 100 of them each. I mean, I couldn't do it.
Definitely.
You know what else he also did? I'll tell you what else he did. I could never watch the hypnosis session from the psychiatrist in '94.
I imagine that'd be very difficult for you.
I just couldn't. I sat down many times, tried to watch it, couldn't do it. And finally, about 2 years ago, well, a year before the book was ready to, for being finished, Gary says, "You got to be able to watch it." I said, "I can't. I tried." He said, "I'll tell you what I'm going to do." He says, "I'm going to go ahead and write everything down." He says, "And I'll read it to you."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was the hypnosis sessions were her notes of doctors. They wouldn't even do that today. They'd be afraid to get sued or something.
Right.
Yeah, one is 2 hours long, the other one's 2 hours long. So it's about 4 hours of notes, and he did a really excellent job. So the first time I actually knew it was in that tape, those tapes, is probably about 2 years ago when Gary actually transcribed the whole thing and read them to me. And we did that on Skype. It took hours. Okay.
I imagine it took a long time, and that chapter on the hypnotic regression is really, really fascinating, and the transcripts are right in there. So, yeah. So
you don't remember being hypnotized? Because I've been hypnotized once, and I listened to the audio recording of it, and I was like, I don't remember that. Don't remember that.
But that's what the psychiatrist, she made it that way. Wouldn't remember. I'll tell you what, the reason I went in is for a sleep disorder, and then I started thinking, oh no, it could have been something when I was like child abuse or something like that. And so she made sure that whatever was going to happen in that first session is I wasn't going to remember what it was. And when Gary was telling me about reading the transcript to me, oh man. But here's the other thing. Lots of stuff that he was telling me in that transcript. I went, oh yeah, I knew that. Yeah, I knew that. Yeah. Because it's stuff I used to think was impressions when I was around the craft. It was actually most likely communication that was going on, not just with the burst of light or anything. There had to be constant communication. Like I knew it was a drone. I knew it wasn't manned. I mean, these are thoughts that I had, and they turned out in the hypnosis session. And the other thing in the hypnosis session, which was amazing, because they tried to block the part about me being around the craft or down at the OSI building, and that psychiatrist
they did their own hypnosis on you, right?
Yeah, well, they so did Bethel. I mean, well, it sounded like a good idea, tell the truth. No, it tells the truth. It goes away. I mean,
did they think you couldn't handle it, or they just didn't want you?
They wanted to make sure everything I was saying was accurate. That's what they told me at the office. I mean, but I was sort of forced into it. But I was forced into it. And anyway, the block in there, she broke it. And when she did that, then of course, everything started to make sense with the information that I already experienced.
Yeah, I can only imagine there's like the sense of validation when you hear that and you're like at peace finally.
That's a nice word to use. It was validation.
Yeah.
Because, I had the experience and what it was going on out there at the moment. And I was like, well, I wonder if I'm just imagining some of that. and then it's repeated, in a hypnosis that was done 13 years later, 93 and 94, I think it was, somewhere around there. I'm getting older. I'm glad I got a book out now. I know I'm glad I got the book out now. I want to make sure I had everything down there. The good thing is I kept journals all the while I was in the Air Force, including the 4 years at Bentwater, so that helped. That's where some of the detail comes from meetings and with Colonel Hall. He was there at 4 years with me too. The other thing is the promotion. I got to work in security police plans and programs. I used my top secret clearance. I was under their visual eye. I got to work with all the wing commanders, the colonels on the base, and the base security. I wrote defense plans. I did all that stuff.
That's cool.
So, well, that's why it's easy to, when they start, like one of the things they said, well, there was tunnels, underground facilities at that way. I was like, oh, no, it wasn't. No, these people are making this stuff up.
Right.
They all had low-level clearances, and most of them were troubled airmen.
Yeah,
but it sounded good. Yeah.
Yeah, they had bad performance reports and everything else. Like I said, in the security police squad, there was only 8 of us with a top secret clearance, and I was one of them. And it just happened that, by having that, things were shared with me, afterwards, and I kept records of it. So if I was having a meeting, hey,
good.
The Air Force, you always CYA.
Oh yes, yes you do, yes you do.
My job too. Yeah.
you got to.
Yep.
It's survival, but also it made me look good if we were going to have a base security council meeting. And I kept really good notes. That's where we have 26 colonels sit around, including the wing commander, and they go over the base defense for the bases and that. What I would do is I do a prior briefing for the following year with the wing commander, and I says, the colonel from the DCM from maintenance said this. I gave him a cheat sheet of the stuff they said at the meeting that they were going to do. And Colonel Williams, General Williams, he go, hey, thanks a lot. I said, you're going to look really good. And they did.
Awesome.
They could not figure out how Colonel Williams remembered something from a year ago at a meeting. He said,
that's
weren't
fantastic.
you going to do this, or weren't you going to do that? Yeah. So you got to make your boss look good.
You do.
Every day. I try.
You try.
I try so hard.
Well, Jim, we're at the end of our show. Really do appreciate you joining us once again. I know Quarantine Ghost has been putting the link to your book in the chat. We also have it down in the description of the YouTube live stream here. But can you go ahead and let everybody know where you can find the Rendlesham Enigma?
You can find it at Amazon.com. You can get it in a Kindle version or the paperback. Or if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free.
It's free on Unlimited. There you go. All right, Jim, thank you once again for joining us. This has been absolutely fascinating, and we are very thankful that you decided to come back and join us.
It was so nice to meet you.
Well, thank you for asking, Mike, and I appreciate it too, Victoria. Thanks.
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan.
Okay.
I am. I'm a big fan of Jim's.
Oh, he's absolutely fantastic. So.
He is.
All the best.
Yeah, Jim, you have a great one. Have a good night. Thanks again.
Have a good night.
Good night.
All right, everybody. Jim Penniston. Yeah, it's always fascinating talking to him.
Oh, yeah.
Just, I don't think people realize all the trauma that he went through with this. It's absolutely fascinating incident, but he went through a lot for years, especially with all the nightmares and everything that followed. He was losing sleep, and so he went through a lot physically as well with all of that. So
I didn't even think about that. I feel so bad.
No,
Sorry.
it's fine. Like he said, it's kind of therapeutic for him to talk about it. So, and he has stated both times that he's come on that if he feels uncomfortable with something, he'll just kind of skirt over it, and so
Click.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, but
He's a really nice man.
He really is. He really is. And so he just happened to be the guy in that place at that time. It's not like he was out there looking for this. It just, there was stuff going on in the woods, and they were told to go check it out.
I think he was the right person at the right time.
He was. He really was the right
Yeah.
person. Yep. Absolutely. All right. So let's go ahead and get to our shout outs and everything. I know there are a couple more questions in the chat, guys, but yeah, we'll
Next time? Is he coming back?
There will have to be a next time, of course.
Okay. Yay.
So, all right. We want to thank Quarantine Ghost for haunting the chat down there, feeding me all the questions. And let's get to our Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons. We've got Tom McNicholas, B3 Airspace, Andrew Cox, Dustin Samario, David Yeisley, and Joe Chandler. Thank you all very, very much for being Deep Down the Rabbit Hole Patreon patrons. And, of course, thanks to the rest of our Patreon patrons as well. It's patreon.com/hauntedroadmedia. All right, let's get to the rest of our shout-outs here. Participants tab, if it would work. Come on now. Here we go.
I think Adam Tillery's there. He's lurking.
Adam Tiller's always lurking. There's Betty Lange, great grand old folks. Thanks for joining us tonight. Chipper Terry, thank you as well. There's Elena the Fam, as always. And Fairy Queen, it's Dan Hilbert. Thank you, Diane, for joining us again. Helen Espinoza, thank you as always. There's Jason King. Thanks for joining us tonight. Judy Wilson and Nick Graves, thank you very much. Pungai Fungi. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Pungai.
Robert Hanna, Sally Powell, and Tracy Christian. Thank you all very, very much. Yep, there's Adam Tillery. He just popped into the participant. He just popped into the participants tab. Did he do
Works.
He does. Did he do the little eyes? Oh, he says, "Ha, got me." Okay.
I sent him a text message or Facebook or whatever, just some eyes the other day.
Oh, okay.
There was no response, but that's okay.
All right. Who else do we have down in here? Kind of scroll through here a little bit. Went a little bit over, so I'm just going to kind of...
Tim.
Tim Schoen. Yeah, of course, Tim Schoen has to be down there. Mr. CO2. And Jennifer Bloomer. Good to see you. Yeah, there's Tim Schoen. There he is.
Hi, Tim.
All right.
Tim's coming through Texas, but it's a pretty big state, so I can't see him.
Texas is a big state. Yep.
Yeah, it's so big.
All right, everybody. So we're going to kick it over to Beyond the Shadows coming up next. So the topic for Beyond the Shadows, I put it in there as like time travel in the ancients, but really it's like a handful of all kinds of topics. There's a little bit of a common theme with time travel. So it would be a kind of a mishmash of a show.
It's a potpourri.
It's a potpourri. There you go.
A potpourri of time travel.
Yes, sort of. So, all right, everybody. Let's go ahead and we'll kick it over to the next show. And if I missed you in the shout-outs, well, we'll get you next time around on Beyond the Shadows. So, and give me a few minutes to switch it all out. So,
Get
Victoria,
blue light.
get the blue light. Got to remember that because I forget it half the time. Yeah.
I try and remind you. Thank you, Mike. This truly is the best hour of the week, and I had an awesome week this week, except for the time I didn't sleep. That's okay. Sleep is overrated. Yeah.
It is. You know, it's a time waster. You know, I could get so much done if I didn't have to sleep.
No, don't sleep.
All right, Victoria. You take
Bye,
care.
Okay, see you
Have
later.
a good one. See ya.
You too.